Moses and the burning bush. The sun was rising over the rugged wilderness of Midian, where Moses had spent many years far removed from the grandeur of Egypt. The son of Hebrew slaves, raised as a prince in Pharaoh's palace, and later a fugitive from the land he once called home, Moses now lived the quiet life of a shepherd. The past, with its moments of privilege and its shadow of guilt, seemed distant, yet it lingered in the corners of his mind. Day after day, Moses tended the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law. The solitude of the desert shaped him, teaching him humility and patience. The once proud and powerful man who had struck down an Egyptian now found himself content with guiding sheep across barren lands. The wilderness had stripped away his pride, but it had also prepared him for something greater, though he did not yet know it. One morning, as the flock wandered toward the slopes of Mount Horeb, Moses noticed something unusual. There, on the mountain, a bush was ablaze with fire. The flames danced with intensity, yet the branches of the bush remained unconsumed. It burned brightly, but was not destroyed. This sight drew Moses' attention, for it defied the natural order of things. He turned aside, drawn closer by curiosity. His heart pounded as he approached the strange phenomenon. The wilderness was familiar, yet this moment felt extraordinary, as if the air itself carried weight. The silence of the desert was broken, not by wind or bird, but by something far more profound. As Moses stepped nearer, a voice called out from the midst of the flames. "Moses, Moses." The sound was unmistakable, powerful yet gentle, commanding yet intimate. Moses stopped in his tracks, trembling, and replied, "Here I am." The voice spoke again. "Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." Moses removed his sandals quickly, realizing that he was in the presence of something divine. The fire that did not consume the bush was not of this world. This was no ordinary flame, but the manifestation of the eternal God. His knees weakened, his heart raced, and his soul trembled at the realization. The voice continued, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob." At these words, Moses hid his face in fear, for he was afraid to look upon God. The stories of his ancestors, once told by Hebrew slaves in whispered songs and prayers, now came alive before him. God said, "I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries because of their oppressors. I know their suffering, and I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians and to bring them to a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Moses listened, his heart stirring with both hope and fear. Could it be that the God of his ancestors had not forgotten? Could it be that deliverance was near? The voice was certain, the declaration undeniable. Then came words that shook Moses to his core. "So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt." Moses' eyes widened. The desert shepherd, once a fugitive from Egypt, was being called to return to the land he had fled, not in shame but in authority. He was being asked to stand before Pharaoh, the most powerful ruler on earth, and demand the release of an enslaved people. In fear and disbelief, Moses answered, "Who am I that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt?" God replied, "I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain." But Moses, still uncertain, asked, "Suppose I go to the Israelites and say, 'The God of your fathers has sent me to you,' and they ask me, 'What is his name?' Then what shall I tell them?" God said to Moses, "I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. 'I am has sent me to you.'" The words resounded with eternal authority. God revealed himself, not as one among many, but as the eternal, self-existent one. His name declared his unchanging nature, his sovereign power, his everlasting presence. God continued, "Say to the Israelites, 'The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation." Moses listened in awe as God gave instructions. He was to gather the elders of Israel, declare God's promise of deliverance, and confront Pharaoh with the command to release the people. God assured Moses that Pharaoh would resist, but mighty wonders would be performed in Egypt, and in the end, the people would go free. Still, Moses hesitated. The weight of the task overwhelmed him. He said, "What if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, 'The Lord did not appear to you'?" The Lord then gave Moses signs to demonstrate his power. He asked Moses to throw his staff on the ground, and it became a serpent. Moses recoiled in fear, but God told him to reach out and take it by the tail. When he did, it became a staff again. Then the Lord said, "Put your hand inside your cloak." Moses obeyed, and when he pulled it out, his hand was leprous, white as snow. God told him to put it back, and when he did, it was restored, whole as before. These signs, God declared, will convince them that I have sent you. Yet Moses still protested, saying, "Pardon your servant, Lord, I have never been eloquent, neither in the past, nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue." God answered firmly, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say. But Moses, weighed down by fear, pleaded, Pardon your servant, Lord, please send someone else. The Lord's anger burned against Moses, but in mercy he said, What about your brother Aaron the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak and will teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if he were your mouth and as if you were God to him. But take this staff in your hand, so you can perform the signs with it. The encounter at the burning bush ended with Moses transformed. He was still hesitant, still human, still flawed, but now he was chosen, commissioned, and empowered. The bush continued to burn without being consumed, a symbol of God's eternal presence and unquenchable purpose. As Moses turned back to his flock, he carried with him more than a staff and a commission. He carried the weight of a divine calling. The wilderness that had been his place of exile was now the place of encounter. The God who spoke from the flames had set him on a path that would alter history. From that moment forward, Moses would no longer be only a shepherd of sheep. He would become the shepherd of a nation, guiding them through deserts and trials, pointing them toward freedom, and teaching them to worship the God who revealed himself as I am. The burning bush remained a timeless symbol. It told of a God who sees the oppressed, who hears the cries of the suffering, and who acts to deliver. It spoke of a God who calls ordinary people to extraordinary missions, not because of their strength, but because of his power and presence. Moses' fear, hesitation, and weakness did not disqualify him. Instead, they became the stage upon which God's strength was displayed. His story reminds generations that when God calls, he equips. When God sends, he goes with us. And when God promises, he fulfills. The flame that burned without consuming was a mirror of Israel's destiny. Though they would be pressed, afflicted, and enslaved, they would not be destroyed. God's covenant would preserve them, his power would redeem them, and his presence would sustain them. Thus began the journey of Moses, not as a man running from his past, but as a servant walking in obedience to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The encounter at the burning bush was not only the beginning of Moses' mission, but also a revelation of God's eternal character, his compassion for his people, and his plan to bring salvation.